enough of me, let's get back to this gorgeous view. I hope that you enjoyed the show. Welcome to the Black Pew.
What's going on, everybody? Black Pew Podcast, first show of the new year. How is everybody doing?
Swell.
Sweet.
Excellent.
We good. We real good.
Lost some J's, but it's cool.
I can't wait him right down these J's.
Marv was telling us
I love my shoes. I love my shoes. Sorry. Somebody's out there fly right now, though. Somebody's fly right now.
Super fly.
And you can't even find high tops right now. Nothing is high top right now.
They go.
It's mid and low.
Everybody want them.
It's annoying.
Everybody want them.
Maybe I can find a pair of yours and buy them off that guy.
That was smooth.
That was cold-blooded.
Somebody real fly right now, and I'm jealous.
No, somebody came up. I ain't even gonna
size?
lie.
What size?
They 13s.
Nah.
Big feet over here.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? They came up. Not only did they came up, they smell good in the mug right now, too.
Yeah, because what they get,
I'm sure I can get
Givenchy and they eat Saint Laurent, man.
Saint
That
Laurent.
smells so good right now.
How dare this motherfucker?
I used to love smelling myself,
He's like, listen,
man.
you smell
No,
like
how
me,
dare
right?
him? You're right. Dude, do you know I feel naked right now because I can't smell myself?
Yeah, when men don't smell good and they walk past,
Yeah, that. I
but when
feel
they smell good, like, what does he have on?
I got to go to
You
the
look
work.
twice at it.
Always my conversation piece, man. You know, I be at work and, you know, all the... Never mind.
Oh,
yeah,
wow. Okay. No, it will. It'll stop.
Yeah, no,
I
yeah.
just learned to understand, like, I have to ask if they smell good because I might want to smell that on you. You know what I mean? I have to
No,
ask
for
them,
real.
what do you have on?
Yeah.
And my mom is the same way. We love men's colognes. That stuff right there. They know what they did with those colognes.
Yeah, no, I only wear it because the chick smelled me and she's like, this is what you need to wear. And that's what she put on me.
Hey.
That's how it goes. That's the best.
That's how it
And
works.
she done messed up because now everybody wants you. I'm joking.
Yeah.
Oh, no, they love it.
From a
They be like,
distance.
that Givenchy be fire.
No.
I wear Issey Miyake.
Issy is bomb.
Well, you know,
That's
I don't
that
think
was
Issey
one of my favorites.
Miyake gonna do too well in a little bit after this whole, you know, surviving Playboy thing come out. You feel me? Because that brand actually became very big beyond the endorsement of Hugh Hefner.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that at all.
I used to wear Issey Miyake only
I used to
because
buy that for boyfriends.
I used to wear Issey Miyake because it was endorsed by the Playboy Mansion.
I thought it was
You
just
thought you were
a.
gonna get a bunny, boy.
Well, because they talked about the endorphin. Because if you really smell it, it has a weird smell to it.
Mhm.
But
It's a little
it was
sweet, but also has something else.
like
to
this
it.
tangy kind
Yeah,
of smell to it, and it was supposed to be that the smell was supposed to be like it was supposed to be like a seductive kind of smell, a seductive kind of like science to Issey Miyake. And so that's why I wore it, and that's why it was endorsed by somebody like Hugh Hefner. But I mean, now, you know, you never know. Cancel culture.
When is that coming out?
It's coming out soon. I've been seeing all the little things for it, and they got his right hand. They got a little bottom thing. She up in there talking about it.
I heard. I
Day
saw
one,
that.
his day one is out there talking about. Oh, I had this. You feel me? It was bad.
It's not going nowhere if it's actually effective.
Well, he's not. He's dead. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be just like, you know, the Survivor Neverland type of thing. But I mean, the thing is that there's so many things, so many brands that have connected themselves to the Playboy brand over the years that may take some blowback from it, because what you're starting to see is that there's a lot of people who've known what is like the Bill Cosby things coming out. And what they're starting to show is there's a lot of people who've known that this behavior existed, yet they enabled it. And so then you come and say, like, well, how far does it go? Like, how many people endorsed these men knew what their lifestyles was like if all these people know? If somebody like Hannibal Buress could make Bill Cosby make everybody alert to Bill Cosby, because that's the only reason it started, because Hannibal Buress had a joke. If he doesn't do that joke, none of us are going down this Bill Cosby rabbit hole. But he does a joke, and we go down this Bill Cosby rabbit hole, something that's been going on for a long time that a lot of people had a knowledge about, you know. And
I
so
didn't know that Burgess was the one that instigated that. Well, not even.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean.
it was just a little small joke, not even a big joke, very small joke.
I feel like I've only heard it.
And it was all it was saying is like,
You're giving us dimes right here. This is good.
no, but it's all I was saying is like, you know,
Yeah, it was.
y'all worried about all this, but y'all ain't been paying attention to what he been doing his whole. And that's pretty much all the joke did, was just shine a little bit of awareness, like, you know, everybody worried about this, but the dude, one of the guys you guys hold on the highest pedestal,
Right.
Yeah.
is grimy in the mug,
Yeah.
you know, and so
That was the things that he wasn't even trying to like.
Set him up for failure.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to set up Bill or nothing. He was just like, for one thing, he was just like, y'all don't know, like this dude been doing this things for a long time, and it wasn't like he was trying to drop the dime, because there's a lot of black comedians who wasn't rocking with Bill because of how he treated them and how
Better
and
than
how
that.
he was was like better than them, and also y'all shouldn't be cussing.
he was Uncle Ruckus.
Yeah, he was. He really
Uncle
was.
Ruckus.
He
He was
really
Uncle
was.
Ruckus.
He was like, y'all shouldn't be cussing on these stages. Y'all need to do clean comedy, and that's the only way I'm gonna support you guys. And there's a lot of them that have stories like, yo, I lost money. I lost a chance to do something because Bill was like, no, don't give him that shot yet.
People talk about the gatekeepers, and there really was gatekeepers. There still are gatekeepers, but
Oh, most
he was
definitely.
one of those gatekeepers, and if not one of the most powerful at that time, because he was one of the only ones that can transition from all black to even white TV, you know, so he could play both sides of the card. He was one of the first to do it on TV.
Well, his secret came out, and it bust Hell's Gate wide open, baby.
But it doesn't really matter.
Beyond just that, now
Does it matter,
now we
though?
got TikTok. Now we got
it mattered for him.
YouTube.
Why does it?
It set his life back a little. You
Why?
know what I'm saying?
How did it?
He wasn't able to, I'm sure, make ends. I'm sure people cut their
Bill
losses
Cosby
with
almost
him.
90 years old. Bill Cosby done lived a life. He done screwed whores. He done did everything. He done
You
did
right.
drugs. He done had parties. He done
He's
he
lived his
closer to
best
the
life.
end of it. So what does it solve?
You're right.
A bunch
This
of
shoulda
chicks
came out
get a
sooner.
bunch of chicks do get a chance to tell their truth. That's it. That's all you get. It doesn't. You don't really condemn him. He's lived a great life. Even if you sentence him to prison for the rest of his life,
He
it's
still
still
gotta
when
answer to
compared.
God.
He still lived like a god for most of his life. And so, if that be the case, who really suffers? Really the women, because
Right.
now we get to know your story. We understand what you did to try to become famous. That's pretty much what you did in your most desperate state. That we know that about you.
Yep.
Other than that, what does it really help? If people want to say he's a monster, okay, yeah, that's true.
Yes.
But he was a monster that lived in paradise for a long time. We don't say the same thing about Hugh Hefner. The man died before we got to be able to. He lived in
Point out his
paradise
fault,
his
yeah.
whole life.
Because a lot of stuff that they're saying now, they could have said while he was alive, but they
Oh, they
chose.
wait.
They
They
chose.
wait.
They chose not to until it's like, hey, he dead. He dead.
Let's spit on his name now.
I could tell you now. I could tell you the truth now. Before, we just was looking at him as a pioneer. Like if Bill had never like went to court, if people had never went to court, took Bill to court, a lot of stuff would have been
He'd go down as legend.
he would still go down as a legend. The Cosby Show would still be on
Yeah.
TV.
Did they pull it for real?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can still. There's still places
No, there's
you
places
catch
you
it.
can still watch.
Yeah, you can still watch it. It's just not on the main joints. Like, but like, there's other things that still stayed on after the person was found out to be doing stuff. Like,
What?
Playboy's still gonna be held in higher regard.
So put it this way. I thought about this the other day, because R. Kelly, right? I thought about this R. Kelly thing, right? And people want cancel R. Kelly. And then I thought about it, and I said, you can't cancel R. Kelly, because if you cancel R. Kelly, there's a lot of innocent people that have nothing to do with what happened. They may not even know what was going on. They get hurt by that. Because not only did R. Kelly make a ton of music, he wrote so much music. There are so many people who benefited from the pen of R. Kelly. He produced so much music. So we're not even just talking about his own catalog. We're talking about majority of music now.
There's a lot of music. There's a lot of music.
So you do that, or are you going to also cancel stuff like Bob Weinstein and everything that he did with Dimension Films and that kind of stuff?
And the
like,
Weinstein Company. Yeah. I think that's the thing. It's like
it's hard to do. It's hard to do that.
It's hard to do that. Like with R. Kelly, you can say, okay, we take him off of certain platforms, music platforms, but then there's still a pretty good amount of songs that are with him that might get pushed down on the platform, but they're still on.
Right.
Who ain't gonna step in the name of love?
Come on.
Exactly.
That thing come on.
Ain't
nobody thinking about.
If you play it in Chicago,
you play that
It's
thing
definitely going
anywhere.
down,
I don't
and
care.
it's going,
You
and
could be
Yes.
down south in the most hickest place or whatever,
I played a
and
good
they square
portion of his
dancing.
music
You
during
play
my
"Step in the
wedding,
Name of
'cause
Love."
I'm
I'm pretty
very
sure they're gonna get down to it.
Yes.
It's one of those things, It's just like he made, but even regardless of that, there's so much music
feel-good
that you
music.
hear.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much music that you'll hear that don't have the sound of his voice or his name highlined on it. Yet somewhere in the credits, he's given written credits, or and so that's what I'm saying, or producer or whatever. So he's blessed so much of the music industry with the gift that he had musically, that it's hard to cancel him, because if you cancel him, you cancel most of the music that we enjoyed through his tenure.
That had nothing to do with what his deeds.
Nothing to do with who him as a person and the art that he created should be separated.
would you buy the rights to his music if you had the chance?
Absolutely.
They're up for sale.
Really?
They're up for sale. What is it? They generate, I think they said
Yes.
between 1 and 2 million.
Yes.
I think it's like 1 to 3 million a year. They generate. That's how much money his catalog and stuff generate. Would you buy it? As if you were?
Yes, you know why?
Definitely.
It's because what happens then is, how many people can remake a song? How many people can sample a song? Everybody would have to do that. They would have to go through you. And so it wouldn't even matter, because he's going to get the spins.
Yep.
Somebody out there right now is saying, I don't give a damn what R. Kelly did. Let him burn in hell for his own personal sins. But guess what? I still believe I can fly.
So
Wanna make a remix
that's-
off that Toya Toya?
That's
Come
the
on
thing.
now.
I think somebody is gonna say, maybe they let a few more years pass off, because his people have been trying to sell his music, and no company wants to buy it now. No person wants to buy it now.
Oh, it's toxic right now.
But
They're silly.
Yeah. Well, what was it? It
But-
just has a name on it. It's toxic. You buy it, so right
You can hold
now,
on
if
to
you
it.
pay
That's
the
an
money,
investment. That is an investment.
but if you pay it right, if you pay the money right now, who benefits off of it?
Are all the names
He
of
does.
the
Exactly.
parents
So
and moms
every time,
toxic too? 'Cause
if
the
what I'm saying,
mamas
if
was
you
selling
pay
them
it,
babies.
you pay it, and he benefits from that. He profits from that. First, what people are going to start doing is turning towards whoever buys it, because now they're going to say, "Is you line the pocket of the monster?"
Yep. Yep. But some people is gonna let it fall to somebody else
And then buy it.
and then buy it.
They're going to let the price drop.
Yeah,
the price is
just-
going to drop.
Just like Death Row is owned by like Hasbro or something like that. The name Death Row Records and what they had, whatever they had, is owned by some a toy company, because they bought it with
make
a
a
bunch
Death
of
Row
other
Connect 4.
things.
The price dropped so much. They didn't
and
have
sales.
no talent, no nothing. They were trying to make money off of all their old royalties and all that. They weren't worth nothing. And then Suge got in trouble and was in prison, and they needed to make some money, so they had to sell. And that's what people are waiting on right now. They're just waiting for the stock of his catalog to drop because they're gonna eventually get desperate and have to sell. And like Fat Joe said, today's price is not tomorrow's price, or yesterday's price is not today's price.
No.
And so that can go either one or two ways. Either the price increases or decreases. And for him, it's going to decrease.
And someone's gonna buy it cheap.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
make a ton of money off of it.
For real,
they
though.
gonna make, because all you got to do is you can repackage it, and I mean you might, but some person on the internet is gonna be like, well, I got to do the research.
You know, if you buy his catalog, help what you get your hands on. You might get your hands on so much unreleased music, so much.
Yeah.
I'm talking about you could be selling beats, so much stuff out the year, remakes, all that. You can make that money back just like that.
Yeah, because you could package it with a record label with a new artist, and they can take a part of a song, change it, and then probably like oh, like
That's all they do
a
right
hit.
now.
You wouldn't even have to change it.
And they'd be like, that's a hit.
They can sing it
get
word
that sample.
for
We ain't telling
word.
you. Yeah,
They can sing it word for word. They could pull an Elvis Presley. Sing it word for word. And know you got it out the muddy waters. Like, just like that. Like, for real. And still make money off it. That's crazy.
True.
As long as he's not the one doing it.
Yeah,
That's
as
all
long
that matters.
That's all that matters.
as long as you're not.
I'm not gonna
supplying
help
him.
Jacquees become the king of R&B. I'm done with that.
He think he gonna do it regardless. So it don't matter.
Okay, what are y'all? What we're gonna switch topics to this Kanye West, him
Some Kanye.
moving across the street from Kim and them.
I felt like that happened to me with my ex-husband. I didn't even know he lived at the next light. That stuff kind of creepy. I'm like, maybe if we conversed about it so that you could be close. But I don't want to wake up and my kids be like, oh, Mom, well, there's Dad's house. I'm like, no. Your dad lives in a whole nother city. No.
You right there?
He's right there. That stuff kind of, I hope she's okay with it. I mean, I can understand why he wants to do it, to be, if this is why he wants to do it, to be closer to his kids. That makes sense. But you don't have to be next door.
So he
It's
rapped
too
about it
close.
and he spoke about it. And that was the reason why he did it. I don't have a problem with it. And the only reason why I don't have a problem with it is because Kanye got the money to do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
But
regardless
her
of the
bubble.
fact,
It's her
but
bubble. It's her
not.
space.
It's not like that's his primary living spot.
No.
You know, he got houses up to yin yang. He's Kanye, but for me,
Oh, is
Yeah.
that one? Is that one of his?
it's one of his.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I thought he.
So he
My
bought
thinking
it.
was he
He
I
bought
thought
it.
that was the primary.
He bought
Okay,
it
okay.
because, and so when he does the when they do the little visitation thing, or when they do the little parental thing, and the kids are with him, they just come across the street and they stay at his house, and so he was just doing it to make it easier for the parental situation.
That's beautiful.
So they all have, and so like it's funny because he just did this new song and he has this line where he's saying like he has the best divorce ever. I'll come pick you up and we can go to court together. Matter of fact, we can go get your sister and we can go get court together. So what he's saying is that a lot of other people from the outside have this idea of the only real thing I think that he has a problem with is the Pete Davidson thing.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think people have this idea that there's like this turmoil on the inside of what's going on with them. And I just think that they realized that they couldn't be with each other because the worlds were just too different.
Yeah.
She couldn't handle his personality and he couldn't handle
his
their
ups and downs.
and he could, and I think that what they had going on inflamed that. You know, I think that he couldn't handle the keeping up with the Kardashian type of stuff, you know, and I think that sent him overboard, and they weren't ready for his level of bipolar, and so
it doesn't mesh well with their brand.
definitely
Not at all.
Like,
definitely not. I mean,
But
he's the
what I do
all-black
like
dude.
about this whole social media aspects, people are throwing shade to him on social media, being like, "Oh, that place looks like a cheap, rundown hellhole." But in all reality, he's got the capital to just knock it down and build a new one, quadruple the value of what it is, and then
Right.
and still come out looking at
But of
them
course
like,
they gotta
what
first
do you
talk
want?
about you. They know you got the money to do it, but they just gotta talk about you. It just feels good. You know what I mean?
I just said, hey, instead of, the thing I don't like about it is like, and Antonio Brown said this not too long ago, a couple days ago. He says people see you do stuff and they don't understand where you come from, so they immediately think that it's crazy or out of the ordinary. But they got to understand. Kanye said, his mom moved from Atlanta to Chicago. His dad didn't move to Chicago.
Yeah.
He grew up with a single mother and didn't have that relationship with his dad. So for him, because he has the means to do it, he gonna move right across the street from his kids. Because if I'm not gonna make any type of gap or any excuse for me to not be able to see them, I'm right across the street. And so I think that's people don't understand it. I think that's big energy. I love the energy that Kanye have for his kids. That people don't talk about that. Instead of saying that that's crazy, people should be talking about how great of a father he is to his kids and how lucky they are to have a father like
how much
that.
the kids will benefit from that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is the second time that me and my ex-husband lived near each other. This time wasn't even on purpose, but I now see the benefit. Before, it was right after our divorce. So I was like, I need my space. You're too close.
Yeah.
But now that my kids are older, this is almost 10 years later, I'm like, ooh, could you call your daddy, please? Could you come? Listen, you ain't got to, hey, you don't have to follow my rules. He live right up the street, y'all. You 18. Yeah, you know what I mean? So,
job done.
Or to be able to call him and be like, hey, you right up the street. Can you come grab them?
Yeah.
You know?
The convenience of
the convenience
it helps.
is nice, it's really nice. I think that once people realize that in raising a child, it takes more than one person.
Yeah.
And if you guys can sit down and communicate and have that, we don't really have to do too much communicating unless it's about the children. We don't have to hate each other in front of you know what I'm saying? This is what matters. And so having them be closer will make it a lot easier for the kids to be able to transition, because that's a transition when you go from having a 2-parent household to a 1-parent household.
Well, and just speaking from experience, like, it's also when the house splits up, like, and I think most people don't look at it, more times than not all the time, but more times than not, the mother becomes the primary parent, right? And so when that happens, the father's life drastically changes and nobody really thinks about it. They think, oh, well, it becomes easier because he doesn't have kids at home. Well, no, time management becomes everything, because now, it becomes work, and you may not live across the street from your child's mother. You may live 40 miles away from her, 50 miles away from her. So the access to them isn't that easy. So you can't just go over there every day. And it becomes all these certain type of things. And so we look at all these things and we become like set in how society should be going forward. I remember dating a chick, and her baby's dad were hella cool, and at that point in my mind, being so immature, I had a problem with that. Like, why are y'all so cool? Like
It's supposed to be
y'all broke up. Like,
supposed to be
y'all supposed
animosity. Yeah.
No, you think that.
Yeah.
But you start to think like, but they got kids together. So why would I want them to be showing this ill will in front of the kids? But my immaturity and wanting to be in this relationship and be secure in it so much felt threatened because she put herself in a mature co-parenting relationship. It shouldn't be like that. But society has conditioned us to feel like, you know what, this is how it should always be. Once you guys break up, you can't stand each other. And that's just what it is. And you need to show the world you can't stand each other. But it shouldn't be like that. It should be like, hey, we didn't work out romantically. That don't mean that the time we spent together didn't mean anything. Yeah.
Well, if the world worked out perfectly, then the lawyers wouldn't be making money. So if you're fighting, if you're constantly fighting, they can't make no money, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I get that, but we become so blinded by what other. It's like we're talking about the shows and stuff like that. Like, I don't watch shows when they come out, because a lot of times you get blinded by other people's opinion. So if you think about it, you go to Facebook, you go to all these other people are talking about, and I only know these names. I ain't never seen Power, but I know Tyreek. You know, because people
Everybody
talk about
hate-
it.
everybody-
Everybody,
I didn't know he had
Ghost and Tyreek and all this, and you feel me? And you see it all. Yeah, I know. So I know a lot about Power, and I ain't never watched the episode because I see it on social media. And so people come together. Society comes together and tries to shape the minds of individuals. And so a lot of times, I'm not on the gravy train when it's hyphy
Because
I
you
wait till
want to
the
see it
from my own
your own
self.
perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when you have people like lawyers and you have people like that, they're conditioning you to
Shaping you.
think a certain type of way because that's how they win.
Yes.
And so that's how they profit. So a lot of times you go into these things not with your own mindset or your own opinion, but what's going to take to win. And so
the drive of an industry.
Exactly. And so that's where you have that cog between, the way things should be and the way we think because the way society has groomed us, And so, people you should be able to be friends with your ex and be able to have a healthy relationship with your ex, especially if you have children with each other, and be able to move on and have a healthy relationship beyond that with somebody who understands that you have to have a healthy relationship with the other half of your
child's
children.
father, yeah.
Exactly.
Or
and
mother.
so, and most people don't, and society doesn't necessarily push that.
I think we also with stars we see that they are supposed to be toxic because we're supposed to get a good song. We're supposed to get a good EP. We're supposed to get a good album. Every time Adele breaks up with somebody,
We get a good-
Or Mary J.
album.
She said she
Fire.
didn't know.
Taylor
she
Swift.
didn't get no love when she was not depressed or sad.
Exactly. And so we thinking
Mary
like,
J.
hey,
was
these
upset about
breakups
that
are supposed to be like
Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Because that's what carries us through.
Yeah.
So
If you're
you feeling down, you put on an Adele song. You feel me? Or some what's the Ari Lennox or you feel me or something like that. That's what and their pain is because regardless on their stature, you're able to be like, you know what, that person is human. They feel the same feelings I feel, and I think that's what people strive off of, and that's why they make the money off of it. And when people who have everything are feeling good, we don't want to pay money for that because I know you feeling. I know life is good for you. You red carpets and traveling across the world.
But you want to find someone to relate to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when they're in the breakups and that pain, you look at it with P. Diddy.
Yes.
They talked about P. Diddy and how he rivaled a lot of the people against each other because he knew that tension was going to bring out the best product.
Yeah.
And so that's what we pay for. We pay for their pain.
Brand new Eminem versus MGK.
I haven't heard it.
I'm gonna say, I have a jaded state of mind against MGK because I just seen him in a picture with his nails done, and
He lost. Yeah, that's what happened right there. He lost.
Once I seen that, I was like, checked out.
Yeah.
I got to get better on that end of my life. But I checked out. I was like, it wasn't like regular nails did. Like, I can respect the man who get like a manicure, pedicure. Like, my man had like acrylics on or something like
okay,
that. I
so
don't
you
know.
lost me
And then,
too.
I was like, and it was like the long pointy ones and stuff like that.
Who?
And MGK.
The whole thing with Eminem basically turned. He was like, I got to go rock.
Yeah.
I got to go to rock or else I'm about to be out of there. Yeah.
Yeah.
He went to rock.
Well, him and Megan are on some wild, weird stuff right now. They
Right
talking about
now,
they drank
yes.
some blood
I
of
was
each
just-
other and stuff like
she said
that.
she drunk his blood.
Yeah,
like-
on some wild stuff right now.
I think he got her
That's that voodoo.
something of her tattooed on him
Hey, they wild.
for their. I think it might have been a tattoo for the ring.
The only thing
Something
that
like
I
that.
thought,
My
the
lips
only thing that I
tattooed on.
thought was dope that he did.
That's it though.
The only thing I thought that was dope he did is that they supposedly met under this tree, and he proposed to her under the tree, but he had it recreated to where it was two trees. So not only was it the tree that they met under, but he recreated the other tree to where it was like 2 trees, so that one tree represented the 2. Like, I thought that was dope. I was like, okay, I get that too. That's the hands down one of the dopest proposals I ever heard. You know, like boom, we gonna go to this tree, but not only we gonna go to this tree, but there is another tree that I made.
Yeah.
That like okay
It represents.
then that's what's up.
nice.
But everything else, the drinking the blood and all that, and
Yeah, it's too much.
yeah, you guys lost me there.
But like I don't know. But you said you had your.
Y'all drink blood?
Oh
No, Chris
let-
asked me. Chris asked me to kiss a piece of paper so he can have it tattooed. I was like, "You do? You want to do that?" He was like, "Yeah."
Yes.
I didn't ask.
I think that's dope if it's the person you're with. Like, I don't see anything wrong with that. Like, I think I've known people growing up, they like got people's names. I think tattoos, they're semi-permanent.
My
You
first
can get
husband
them.
has my name on him.
All right.
You can
I
get
got
it.
I got a rule, and I got a theory. I don't think you should do names, right? And my mom taught me this early. Rest in peace to Lisa Left Eye. But this is the perfect example. She was dating Andre Rison. Andre Rison played for the Falcons.
Yep.
It's number 81. She got the Atlanta Falcon, number 81, tatted on her arm for Andre Rison. The next year, he get traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. And so now, the Atlanta Falcons thing is all said and done. Yeah, he's on the Chiefs. And then they get into it, so they break up. And she burned his house down. And then I was like, you know, at that point, I don't think you can mess with a chick that burned your house down. And that's it. So my mom told me at that point while we was watching the news and the house was burning down, she said, I want to tell you one thing. You don't get nobody's name tattooed on you because one thing that's not forever is relationships. And so I was like, "Bet, okay, whoa. But she said, this is what, if you want to do anything, you can't symbolize for them.
Yeah.
So my
Yeah.
mom used to call my dad her ace of spades. So before, you know, rest her soul, God rest her soul. So she got a tattoo from her for him, and it was a deck of cards, and it highlighted the ace of spades. So when you seen it, you knew who that represented
yeah.
for, and it was like you had to be close to them to know that, and so it had more meaning than anything. I got a name tattooed on me, and it wasn't a chick that I was intimate with, but it ended up being a bad situation because it was not what it intended to be. And so, like, I don't do it. It's not my thing. I don't have anything against people who do it, but it's not my thing. So yeah.
Chris and I and my sister went because my father loved elephants, and so we
Oh, see, I did
all went
symbolism.
and got elephants.
Yeah, that's
and
dope.
He went and got it for my dad. And I was, you know, he
But
didn't
that's
have
different.
to, but
I loved
you
her
know what I
dad.
mean?
But,
So-
but this is what I'm saying.
He was the
That's
flyest
symbolism.
dude I've ever met in my entire life. I could
he
not.
believed he was too.
This guy moved with an elegance
Well,
that
my
was
father,
just.
God rest his soul. We from Illinois, so
That's
he
gonna
would
be
always
the
think.
That's
Man,
gonna
when
be
you
about
say
it. His name
when you
is
talk about
finest.
step in the name of love, this
So
guy
he would
right
tell
here,
people
he
he was the
definitely
finest thing in Chicago.
the sheer
Really?
definition
Oh, yeah.
of it. He would glide and he would be in the Elks, and he'd have like lines of chicks trying to be with him, just like
he's just here for the weekend.
yeah,
And when
like
he leave, they're like, "When your
where your
daddy?
daddy at?
Damn.
I feel like
Let it be.
that's my like 15, about 15 years.
That's Marv, baby.
15,
Yes.
20 years, it's gonna be me just slide. My son gonna be saying that about me. What?
At the Elks. It's so funny because the Elks is a specific, like,
It is.
Oh,
it
man.
has, no matter where you are in the country, you
Elks
you
Lounge.
go to the Elks Lounge, you know exactly what's going on there. Like, you
You know who you gonna find there?
You know who
Yes.
you gonna find
You know
there.
you gonna find
You
there.
know what type of people you
Yeah.
gonna find there. You
no
know,
foolery.
and
Yep.
I love it.
No
Yeah.
foolery.
And you
Love
know
it.
it's gonna be
Feel me?
like
Old school.
if you go in
Yes.
there with a good attitude, you gonna have a
You
good
got
Best
Good
time.
time.
The best time.
You
The
gonna have
grown
like
great
People were
sexy.
asking me why I was going
Yeah,
there.
that's great time.
When I was in my
Yes.
late 20s, I was like, man, there's no drama. The music is good. I'm going to get my little sip and I'm going to do my dance and I'm
Yep.
going to go home. I don't
Yep.
to
And
worry
it's not
about
no
nothing.
extra.
Nothing.
No.
It's not no extra.
And I loved it because at the time that's when everybody was at latitude and this and I'm like, did somebody get shot last week? Because I ain't going.
The rose
I can't-
petal.
yeah. See, I ain't got time for this.
If you couldn't
I
cut
need to
it
make
at
it
the
home, I
Elks
got
Lounge, you
kids.
went to the rose petal. That's what
The
happened.
rose petal.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of there.
You ain't never heard of the rose petal?
Oh, he got a little juke joint, y'all.
Oh,
Now it's
the
Caballeros.
rose petal. The rose petals in
Oh, yeah.
Seattle. That's you can go. That's where you might get popped in the parking lot. You feel me? But it was an older school crowd though. You know, like
Yeah.
Oh,
it be
those are
people.
old thugs.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's like now it's called La Familia, and it's in Des Moines, and you know, same stuff be happening in Des Moines. So you know, they just not too long, about 3 months back, they like had 6 people get shot in the parking lot. 3
Stop.
of them, yeah,
Dang.
like
In their,
4 died.
in their 50s,
No.
60s.
It's an older crowd.
What are we doing?
Matter of fact, you know, I ain't gonna say the people's names,
Hope they got
but
them wheels straight.
there was some folks from my church. I went one day because I got invited by somebody. They was like, come meet me at this little spot. I'm like, all right, cool. I ain't know nothing about it. I pulled up in the parking lot. And I'm like, this is not really one of my scenes. You feel me? But, you know, I ain't no punk. You feel me? I ain't finna
Wow.
just be like, started off in the parking lot. I ain't gonna meet you there because I knew if I said I ain't gonna meet you there and they knew that I was on my way, that I punked out in the parking lot. So I'm like, you know what? I'm finna just do it. I'm on my solo, but I'm finna just do it. I'm finna just, you know, walk in there by myself. So I did, you feel me? And I walked in, and then I was like, ooh, snaps. And there was some people on
Sister
in the
so-and-so.
leadership of
Sister
my church.
so-and-so,
There's
huh?
some leadership folks in my church. And I was like, oh, snaps, they up in here? I had to do a little, you feel me?
No, there's
They
no
in
point
there?
in doing
Yeah,
that. They're
what-
there.
who you
They're there,
hiding from?
so-
She there
no.
too.
They there, but yeah, once I seen them, I knew what type of crowd it was because they was rose petal people. So I was like, oh my God, you don't want to be seen up in this spot. You didn't want to be seen in the rose petal if you was one of those folks. You feel me?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
And then
they
that
might
next
think you one of
weekend,
them.
when it went down, I was like, yep, this is just one of those spots. It's one of those spots you just don't go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about every city has one of those. A lot of cities have one of those where you just like,
Old folks that ain't got no mind.
if you go there, you know exactly. You need to be on alert. You gotta, if you gonna go, you go and leave. You
You're
don't
not gonna
stay in
have
that
your back
parking
to the
lot.
door.
Yeah. And
You take off your jewelry before you go in.
point. You know the situation in the parking lot before you. That's why that's so funny. You said the parking lot situation because there's a lot of places you'd be like,
You
I
know,
gotta figure out where I want to park because I gotta figure out if I got to leave
My exit,
fast.
yes.
Where's my exit? Is gonna be who I gotta walk through to get in the door and all that stuff.
I parked off site. Cause I was like, if I gotta run, it's not gonna be to my car in this crowded parking
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
right here. I'm finna run in my car. I whoop whoop whoop, and I'm out of there.
Right, street parking. Street parking.
See, Chris don't be listening. When we go out, I'm weird. I watch because two of my
Back
sisters
to
are
the
cops.
wall.
My back is always to the wall. I'm watching how security moving. Are they looking at people? Who are they looking at? And why is that person looks?
Does this
Chris,
person look
like,
strange? Is he
I
acting
can't.
suspicious?
I'm a people watcher.
I'm a corner too. I'm always in the corner because nobody gonna be able to sneak up behind me. You feel me? I need to see everything.
Yep.
You feel me? It was just
I don't
like
like
that
surprises.
That night, I was like, boom, boom. One of my boys from Union walked in, and I was like, whoo. Okay, I know I'm good. If it go down, you feel me? Yeah. Ooh, he can go to the trunk for somebody. All right,
Wow.
cool, we're good. You feel me? But I kept my eyes on everything because I don't even go out like that because I don't like. If I do go out, I like going out to like nice, elegant spots. I like kicking it with the white people or the bougie black people. Cause
Blue Note. Shout out to my people at the Blue Note.
because I mean, they know at least how to keep you safe. Every now and then, a crazy white person come up and kill everybody, but that's a little.
That's movie theater
It's one
style.
every couple. That's
That's
one
the
every
only
6
place-
months or something like
Man.
that. And it's a random spot. You just don't trip. Don't be nice to white people.
Okay, we about to talk about this. Probably the nastiest thing
I
I've
couldn't
seen
even.
in a
I know
minute.
what you're gonna talk about because I couldn't even finish watching it. I turned it off. I got nauseous.
Man.
Did you see it?
It's
Mike Todd.
disrespectful.
No, man. I have a different opinion about it, but I you know, it is what it is.
There's a way to do everything.
There's not.
That's not the way.
No. All right. So this is what I want to say then. People watch that and everybody say, "Oh my God, Jesus and Jesus this and Lord and Savior, I'd do anything for Jesus." And, What he was trying to show was something that actually happened in the Bible. Mm-hmm. And what he was trying to help people understand is that you can block your blessings by not following the divine nature that Jesus had for you just because you feel something does not fit the mold that you in. So if you think about it, at that time where this blind man is supposedly getting ready to be healed by Jesus, I mean, for somebody to go and spit in their hand and then wipe it across your eyes, I mean, for you to be resilient enough and say, "Hold on, pimp, don't touch me with that." I mean, like he said, it can get messy, and does that mess block you from going forward? So I understood the analogy. The funny part about this is the second time he's done it, and this is why I have a problem with it. It's the second time he's done it. He actually did it 3 years ago.
With the spit and stuff?
Yes, he actually took dirt the last time, took spit, took it in his hand, made a mold, and wiped it over a man's face. I actually watched it, and nobody said anything. Now, all the outrage and everything. The only reason that this is outrage is because people feel like they can cancel people for anything now over the past year.
No.
So
My issue was what came from his mouth. There was a white clump still stuck on the man's face. I do not do.
He chose his. That was his brother too. Let's be real. That was his brother too. So he also chose somebody. He didn't just choose some random person that he didn't know or whatever. He chose his brother, somebody. And so that's my thing. I just feel like
I dropped my baby niece when she drew it on me. I don't play games.
I hear you, but my problem is now is because of 2020, 2021. People feel that just because I don't agree with what you did, no, everybody has to be ashamed. And no, that's not okay.
Not right.
That's not okay. Just because you don't agree, then unsubscribe.
Exactly.
That's all you have to do.
Do like I did. Turn it off. I'm gonna let them people stay at that church. But I'm just saying I can't.
But what I seen it was for what it really was. Because guess what? If Jesus walked up to you today and hocked the loogie and did that to you and you said no, you just blocked your blessing.
I wouldn't say no, but I would cry. I ain't gonna lie.
But see, that's my thing is so now it becomes acceptable because in that moment you feel like you have a divine nature. But when somebody's showing you an example of how the process could be and how your mind could possibly be thrown off in that situation, it becomes unacceptable. And that's where I have the problem with people at. Is because you only accept it because you agree with it. As soon as the disagreement comes, we can't agree to disagree. It's just like, and that becomes our issue. I seen so much uproar. When I first seen it, I was like, they didn't see this man do that 3 years ago? 'Cause I did. And when I seen it, the first thing I thought about me was, I think I'm just built different. Because the light bulb went off from my head. It was like, dang. Like, that man could have said, that's nasty, and stayed the rest of his life blind. Instead, he just accepted it because did it? Exactly. And so that's where I clicked at. Instead of seeing the actual
message.
I think
didn't
a lot
understand
of people,
the context.
I think a lot of people, if you know Bible, you know God, you understood the context. I think a lot of people who were like, he needs to be canceled, or that's just, they're doing too much. Those are most of the people, like you said, those are people who don't know anything spiritual. They know that anything that the church does that they think is weird, that the church is doing too much. Like the church is doing too much. They spitting
in people's mouth on a regular basis, and they call it sex. And so I mean, there's no they just choose their battles.
Yeah, but it's like they're just like
it's also historical. It's a historical reason to it too, though. But I mean, and nobody looks at that as well because in the Jewish tradition, the firstborn the firstborn son of a family spit is supposed to be blessed, and that's why Jesus did that. Is because he was considered Jewish, and he was considered the firstborn Jew of his firstborn son of his family. So he had to hold some Jewish traditions for people to follow along with what he was the movement that he was making. So that was also a reason why he chose spit over anything else. And so that's what we get. But
A cultural divide.
But I think also people just like that was just the act out.
Yes.
Was a little much. I think that's what people are like. The act.
Sound of you could have just made it more discreet with your spit.
I
think. I'm like,
yeah.
In his hand.
Okay.
Sound means sound.
All
When
right.
you're not there and you're hearing it, it can be very disturbing.
Because
I hear
that and you know, that's almost like a sound of disrespect. If someone honks a loogie in your
spits
face,
at you.
what's going to happen?
Okay, and also
Immediate.
let's take this to the St. Jesus. The crucifixion was supposed to be a sign of humiliation, and we look at that as a sign of redemption.
Mm-hmm.
So the same things that we look at as discussed would be the same things that freed us from the things that we held in bondage from in the past, and that's the problem that I have. So what he was trying to do was you can't. If you took a little bit of spit, if I took the spit that I had in my mouth right now, and then tried to make a clay form in dirt, it would not be possible. What he was trying to help us understand was, in order to make that a much spittle to create a clay, it had to sound disgusting. So, and we're talking about a blind person. Yeah. So now your senses are heightened.
Yeah.
So, as disgusting as it might sound to you, somebody with two eyes that can see, think of how disgusting it might have been to somebody who could not see anything.
But it's also in what form you're getting it. So if you're just getting it from somebody who's like racist and spitting in your face, that's fight time.
That's true.
But when you're getting it from the Son of God.
Exactly. And we're getting it from somebody who's trying to help you grow
Yes.
spiritually. So in order for you to do that, what they're trying to say is, in order for this person to embrace the blessing that God had for them, they had to endure this this moment of what most people would consider doubt.
Yeah.
Of saying, is this going to work? This don't seem. I mean, we've all been somewhere and seen somebody do something and be like, you know what? I don't know if that's going to work. And it worked, and you be like, oh, how'd that work? You know, like,
yeah.
And so we've all seen that. And so what he's trying to say is, how are you going to get to the other side if you can't get through this point right here?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so, but nobody's seen that part of the message. Everybody just heard the and wipe it across his face. Nobody took into account of the person he chose. Nobody took into all these other aspects, and then had this man coming on his own life, seething and apologizing for trying to help you grow spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he should have had to do all of that.
He did, because
he
made world news because of that.
I think
But then they were.
But now they want to
the word.
spin. They want to spin this
it's
as something else.
Word has nothing to do with it now.
Because
No.
when I listened to it on the way here, me, my daughter, everybody cringed. I said, "Oh, but I understand what he was saying." Did I not say that?
Yeah.
I understand what he was saying, but just the sound of it, it was.
I think his apology was more of a his apology the next day.
He said he crossed the line.
Was more, yeah. He said he crossed the line, but the thing about it is that I don't think he.
But
it would be different if he. It would be different. Okay, if he had acted out what David did with Bathsheba to a certain extent, that would be okay. You crossed the line,
Right.
I think that because the optics.
But why? If you
Because
can act
people
out
were
one, you should
like,
be able to act out the rest.
"Oh, you think you so good? You can spit on people." But it's also people who are not in the church, because people in the church were like, I get the symbolism. It was just nasty.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we got what the message was. It is he's apologizing for the optics to people who don't like I said, don't understand anything like spiritual, and who don't hold the Bible in high regard.
It's funny because I had this 3 years ago. I had this conversation with somebody because, like I said, when he did it the last time, that almost empowered me spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my God, That's so amazing.
Because you won't
because I
see it. You don't.
No, well, it was more than just. I knew the story.
Yeah.
I knew how powerful the story was.
Yeah.
But when he was able to show me an example, and I was able to think about it and be like, yeah, if I had my eyes closed and somebody was hawking a loogie into their hand and was finna rub it on my face, I probably would be like,
There's a difference. So
if I couldn't see, I've been throwing blind punches.
You would have went like this.
One of us finna connect. Pimp, what you doing? You feel me? But then I do understand the entity of God, and I understand the purpose of Jesus, and then when I look at a lot of things that were done to get us to where we at now, if we looked at them through our own human eyes, they would never make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
I get it.
It would be less, I don't know, lessened when he did it a few years ago when you said he molded dirt with his spit, because you're thinking, okay, it's less of the spit, more of the dirt in your mind. You know, you try to reason, rationale.
That was nasty.
Was it?
So
Really?
if you think about it, one person, you just got spit. Now you talking about you went outside, got some dirt off the ground
with your spit,
and you mix your spit with
We've all
it.
played in dirt, so that's why it didn't bother me as children. You go dig in the dirt while you're gardening, you don't think nothing of it.
We all drink backwash. I'm saying, look,
Your own only, I hope.
Let's be real. We've all drank backwash. You got kids, you drank backwash.
Yeah,
you know what
you're
I'm
right.
saying? We
I
all
swear
got
you could said
we all drank
bathwater at
I
first.
thought
I'm
you
like,
said bathwater at
We're
first.
talking about someone who
What?
could turn water to wine.
You know, so I'm saying, I understand
backwash.
the extremities,
Okay.
and I understand how our minds could have a blockage when it comes to that, because I experienced it when he did it the first time. But I also was able to see past it and understand what he was really trying to do, because it's bigger than just a man who is blind seeing.
Yeah.
Like, we all have problems. It's like me right now with my car situation. I ain't been able to buy a new car because the process of it has just been tolling, and trying to get back and forth to work and rentals and doing all this extra stuff. It's been tolling, and I could just be like, you know what? I'm just tired of this. I don't want to deal with this no more. Instead, I know that there's a light on the side, a light on the other end of the tunnel, and I didn't do all this work for nothing. It looks bad right now. It's taking all my money right now, but eventually the wrongs are going to be right. And so I understand it for symbolism. I understand it for what it means, and what he wants to do is, a lot of churches have gotten a bad rap for just talking about it and not being about it.
Yeah.
He's actually being about what he's talking about and getting rap and getting flack for that.
Yeah, because nobody talked about how they donated $7 million.
People don't talk about all the stuff that they do.
To a church that they are not connected to, a pastor they don't know.
Let's talk about how they even got the building that they got. Let's talk about all the stuff that he said that was going to be done before they even had the money to do it. But nobody talked about how steadfast the man has been, how faithful the man has been to his craft. Like, he's taken being a pastoralship to another level.
Yeah,
he's grew something that a white man had, and has made it almost one of the biggest churches in the country. He's rivaling with T.D. Jakes and the Joel Osteens and the people out there in 45 years.
Yeah, and he's talking in the language of the people he's trying to reach. They understand
gospel through his mouth.
Exactly, and because he's younger, he's not the youngest.
No.
He also
My
relates, and he's like, hey, I can relate on these points. And I think the act out was, if let's say he would have just taken some water and whatnot and did it, like, it would have been fine. They wouldn't. What it was that the people who saw it from the outside,
I can't believe he just spit in that man's face.
exactly. They took it. I think they took it. And they took offense to it because they take offense because a lot of people are like, see, that's why I don't go to church anymore. Even though that's not true. That was exactly.
Come on
Now,
now.
what you're talking about is
I ain't
both the
gonna stop
cultural
you going to
divide where spit is offensive Whereas then it wasn't. Right now, if someone spits in your face, it's offensive.
For him, people were just looking for a reason to be mad.
But yeah, people,
You're absolutely right.
But people
People
are
just
looking for a
looking
reason to be mad, and mad at the church. Even if they already are
They're
mad
waiting
at
for
the
you to
church
slip
for
up.
whatever.
He had no other blemishes.
Yeah.
He had
They're
no
waiting
other
for you to do
blemishes.
something that they don't like.
They love his marriage is one to be adored. You know.
Yeah.
And the way that they've grown is something to admire and inspire and inspires people. Like he has become an all around pastor. He's become what you expect a pastor to be. Yeah, he don't wear the fancy garms and all that, you know, and he looks like me when he walks out there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's everything you expect a pastor to be. He's very intimate. He speaks to his people. He teaches his people. He makes sure that when you come out of one of his sermons, you leave better than you came in.
Yeah.
He's everything that you wanted a pastor to be. So I think people were looking for the chink
Yeah.
in his armor,
Yeah.
and
Right.
I think they found it, because regardless on if the fact if he did wrong or not, they know one thing. They know that he's going to come out, he's going to sympathize, and he's going to side with them before he sides with himself. Because what I believe what he did wasn't wrong, but because of all the backlash that he got from it, the godlike man that he is, he's going to say, guess what? If I offended you, I'm sorry. Yeah, I crossed the line. He may not have crossed the line, but to you, since you feel that way, I did. And so that's what makes him an amazing pastor.
That's what it calls humility.
Yeah.
And that's what makes him
He's an amazing pastor. And so I don't think it was wrong. I seen him do it 3 years ago when I seen you guys talking about it. So I ain't even gonna lie. It threw me for a second because I was like, spit. Because I seen it before.
You were like 3 years.
No, I thought no. Before I seen it before, I thought split. So I didn't see it right. I'm like, oh no, I know him and Natalie didn't just get divorced. Oh no!
You would
And
think he was a
I went
neighbor.
fast to it, and then I seen the spit thing, and I was like, is this old? Because I know it happened. This was pre-COVID when it happened. So I'm like. And so it might have been 4 years ago. And so I'm like,
now people are triggered off the COVID stuff.
yeah. And so I'm like, hold on. You know, but everybody been at home. People go watch stuff on TV more, YouTube more. Everybody got time. And so, more eyes are on it. And so I get it.
Clickbait. All you gotta do is put in there.
Somebody said, oh my God, he spit on this man. And that's, it's a story.
Yeah.
Pastor spits on this man, not anybody. Pastor spits
Yeah,
on
you
this
gotta
man.
put it in there, right?
We're talking about the spin of it
Yes.
and not using any concept.
Yes.
Context.
All you can do is say
Yes.
mega church pastor spit on member.
That's it.
You'll get a million clicks.
Yeah, that's it. You made your money.
Yeah.
Yeah. The story, they're going to read it and people going to come and be like, oh, for real? That's it? Like, I thought he hawked a look and spit in somebody's face and there was an
Yeah.
altercation. No, he was demonstrating something from the Bible, and people went overhead.
and then
overboard.
lost the context of the whole.
Well,
Lost
you don't
the
know.
whole because they're not even talking
Went over
about.
their head.
Yeah, nobody's talking about Matthew.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about any of that.
Nah.
They talking about how could you take spit in your hand and wipe it on somebody's face?
Yeah. That was. I was like, ugh, but I get where it's coming from. So I was just like, I think people were a little grossed out because of the extra spit that dropped down. I was just like, ugh. Like for me, if I see a plate of spaghetti, I want to throw up.
Unless
So-
they put ranch on it.
No, that's nasty.
He said it right.
That's even nastier. So that's why I'm like, I got like, I'll be like, ugh.
But according to us, he does have a palate of like a 5-year-old. Let's be real.
Right.
So,
My
but
spaghetti was slapping the other
Hamburgers
night,
and
though.
chicken nuggets. You know what I'm saying?
eat more than that. But we're gonna get to this last topic. I wanted to talk about this new bill in Florida. Every month,
Woo-hoo-hoo! That thing is nasty.
what?
that discrimination.
Everything.
Oh, that's nasty.
Everything in
dirty
Florida. Every month they do something else to. The governor is really trying to court the people. basically Trump 2.0. He's a smart.
Oh,
he's a smarter
all the way.
Trump. He's a smarter Trump, and I think he's like I'm the next one, but you still have Trump like sitting there like I'm the kingmaker.
still here,
And the governor, he's that base. He does everything he can to try to please his base, and
Oh,
it's
yeah, it
like
used to be a swing state. That thing is all red now.
it's yeah, and that's the thing. Like it's like now this discomfort bill, it is moving through.
Yeah, the racial discomfort bill. I said discrimination. Racial discomfort bill. It's stupid.
It is.
It's the
Cats
dumbest
out of the
thing I've ever
bag.
heard
Cats
of.
out of the bag. They
It's the
can't-
dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
Right.
But it's. What else do you expect?
That's
They just letting everything slide.
No, I mean, what else do you expect?
well, and it's the thing about it is like it's people trying to dilute like and they're so like the whole thing about it is that there's like we got to do everything to get our base riled up against anything that will make change. We got to focus on these things that are not really the problem. So let's make them focus on CRT.
Yeah, and I'm like, what else is left to dilute?
So time out. Let's be
They
real,
don't even
because
talk
this
about
has nothing to do with CRT. So
No, it doesn't. No, that's
it's solely
exactly.
different. So what's funny about it is that they did an amazing job. Like with this bill, I read over it. They did an amazing job because they can't say that this is geared towards one person. It actually looks like an equality bill.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It actually looks like
Yep.
an equality bill. So when you look at it and you read over it, it's like, okay, well,
Yep.
you can't make nobody feel bad for being who they are,
Yep,
right?
Exactly.
And so it's like,
yep.
So in that
Okay.
case, let's not put Mark Twain in schools anymore, right?
it becomes this weird thing because it's
Yeah,
like,
because they can say, well, Mark Twain doesn't make me feel bad.
yeah.
They can say Mark Twain. They can say
Makes
well,
me feel
they
bad
can
by
say-
some
well,
of
and
the
that's what they-
literature in there.
That's what.
That's,
see,
that's
that's
the conversation.
that's the that's the conversation. But that's also how people who are strategizing. They're like, on the other side, they're like, look, we probably gonna have to get these parents of children of color, so black parents of black kids, Hispanic kids, Native kids, to say, hey, y'all not talking about this makes me uncomfortable. Like y'all not talking about slavery makes me uncomfortable now, or how you're. But it's like it's crazy that we got that they're going to have to
But still,
do those tactics.
So that's not as strong as it's just like how I was talking earlier about dating, right? And it was like, this chick can't treat me because a dude done did this. You can't hold me to that same standard. Well, racism has gotten to that same point because white people were saying, you know what? I'm not my ancestors. We didn't own those plantations. We don't, even though they don't realize that in that time, the world they were gaining resources off of free labor for hundreds of years. So because we don't talk about this. So you benefit from it.
Hundreds of years of
Exactly. You benefit from it. And society and the system has been built for you to benefit from it.
yeah,
Continuously.
Even though you wasn't physically there. And so what they're trying to say is, well, we didn't intentionally do it and we're trying to get better, so you shouldn't hold us to that standard. No. And the thing is like, we're not trying to hold you to that standard. We are not treating, because if we were holding you to that standard, we'd be lynching y'all.
yeah.
Right.
Just get that right. We find a couple of y'all down the street, you'd be hanging from a tree. If we had the opportunity, to burn some stuff in your front lawn, we'd be doing it. But that's not how we get down. And so let's understand that we just. It's just hard,
it's hard to talk about.
that's just not how we get down. And so in reality, it has to be. It has to be some type of realization, some type of truth to the history of America for us to feel like we have been redeemed somewhat.
Yeah.
Because then the next steps after that follow. Once we solidify what the actual truth and history of America is, the next steps aren't hard to take. But as long as they're cloudy, You know, it's always can be a denial on the next step.
They're trying
Yeah.
to fight the knowledge of the past. If you don't know your history, you can't fight it, and you can repeat it. The problem is, we got to look at it this way. I don't feel comfortable that my people were a commodity. I don't feel comfortable that once we were not a commodity, you started murdering us. I don't feel comfortable that you started breaking up the black family in order to kill generational wealth of our people so that we're stuck with,
Kibbles and bits.
yes.
But at the same time, they can also like. There's a lot. What I think about it, the whole thing is like they're trying to protect, like they're trying to protect this like this entitlement.
They're children almost.
They're yeah, but it's almost like
Protecting tyranny.
yeah, but it's like their children are gonna go into the real world, and also you've got huge players in the state who are gonna have to buck against that, like Disney. Disney is headquartered in Florida. You don't think there's gonna like they had a bill that it was a COVID bill. It was one of the COVID bills they had where it was just like the company can't enact or they can't censor people from certain things online, except if you run a theme park or a destination, because the carve out was for Disney. It was for that in that bill. The carve out was for Disney because Disney's the only one. There's only two or three big parks in the state. So it's like you've got Disney, who was a global brand. They're not gonna regress in their promoting of
Diversity.
Promotive diversity. So it's gonna come up to clash with these laws in the state.
So it had to look favorable to everybody.
Yeah, and so they're gonna change some things because Disney has lobbyists. So Disney's gonna go to these people and say, "Hey, look," because it's gonna be online. There's gonna be petitions like, "Hey, Disney, y'all need to boycott some of this stuff going on in the state, and if you don't, we'll cancel Disney Plus, or we won't go see a Marvel movie."
They don't got that kind of power. But you hear all the backlash for things like on Eternals about how diverse it was, and I see it's always the same people.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like people
Or
are
Black Panther.
people are going to push Disney to push the envelope there, and so that's why they lobby. They're going to lobby for certain things in these bills, like these carve outs, and that's where you get it where they're gonna be like, "Well, we tried," but it's at the same time, it's up to people to do something more than just say, "Oh, that's bad." And I feel like I know people in Florida, they don't even know a lot of stuff that goes on, and you'd be like, "How you live there and you don't like?"
Because it's supposed to be a secret. Like I watched earlier, and the lady was like, "I don't feel like my 6-year-old should have to learn about slavery because, you know, that's about racism, and we're not about racism, but that's our history."
Yeah.
So if you're talking about your history, why are we suppressing my history? You know what I mean? What about my children? Because they're still going through. You know what I mean? So it's just crazy.
I do think that, and this could be unpopular, I do think it's irresponsible to teach a young child that. And the only reason why I say that is because their minds are so immature and very, very easily influenced, is that it's easier to teach them a hate for somebody else through that type of literature. I do believe that it is a history that should be taught, but I do believe you can condition somebody to think a certain way if you start to teach them something too early. It's like you don't cuss around your kids. You don't let them watch certain type of TVs because we know how impressionable those things could be on their mind. You know, I mean, little kids jump off of stuff and they put stuff in their mouths that shouldn't be put because of the influence they have from certain media and all that type of stuff. So we know how influential they could be. Teaching them a certain level of hatred hatred for the without
There's a way to do everything.
No, but I'm saying teaching them a level of hatred without them having the discernment to be able to dissect it and understand why it's being taught to them is a difference than them learning it in U.S. history in high school. Because I believe at that point their minds have matured enough to be able to understand what it is as the history lesson for what it was, instead of the initial hate that was behind it towards their people. And so that's one thing that I see in that, to where as a parent I would have a problem with it, because I wouldn't want to raise my child that way. There's certain things in my life that my son doesn't know, because he wasn't ready to know that information.
Right.
Yet there's a day and time for him to know all of that. And so that's the thing. I think that it should be taught, but it should be responsibly taught. And I think that Black people, because of our disappointment and our anger in the lack of teaching, we're being too aggressive to who should know this, because we feel like there's been a lack of information, instead of being strategic about how we teach this information. Because let's be real, our counterparts are very strategic about how they teach the information to their children, and that's why their children are still striving in this country, and ours are struggling because we force feed them too much. We put them in situations to where they become more toxic than actual members of society.
But our children can see the difference. How long did it take for us to get a Disney princess with even melanin? You know what I mean?
No, I hear all that, but those aren't our. And
Those are
and this
our
is the other
battles,
thing.
too.
No. Those are battles to fight, but at the same time, this is not a traditional country. This is not a country to where we are natives to this country, to where we've created the culture of this country, to where we were brought to this country as
we have to fall in line?
As commodities.
We were brought to this country as free labor and free labor only. And because it became bad for the people who ran this country, if we rebelled, they have to. If you watch America, all America does is, when everybody starts to rebel or starts to become discouraged or dissatisfied with the direction of America, they shift. And so in reality, that's what they did. They said, this is not going to be good so we going to shift. And what they shift, we seen the 13th Amendment happen, and then we seen a lot of our people end up dead or in prison. They figured out how to shift, and that's always what they're going to do. It's because we didn't come here, and the thing that they had on their side wasn't they didn't educate us. So we came here and we started our fight uneducated. And so we've always been behind the ball because we haven't been educated in our fight. It usually comes from a point of aggression, disappointment, anger. So if you really see anything, whenever we protest, our peaceful protests are threatening because they don't always seem peaceful. Because even though we're not breaking stuff or doing all that, the aggression in our voice, the anger, all that, you hear the pain, and people say, you know what, that's threatening. Because when the white folks do it, you know, a little chants and stuff like that. They may have that little gun, we won't know, yeah, and the little bells and all that type of stuff, and they sing a little Catholic hymns, and doing all that. We sing Negro spirituals, and everything has there's a intensity to it, and that scares people. So whenever we approach certain things, there's an intensity. There's an intensity to everything that we do, and I don't think that a lot of people who are outside of
they
the
don't
Black community
understand
don't understand it or don't even know how to deal with it, and so we're always seen as the problems or too aggressive or misunderstood.
I feel like they're being attacked just because we're expressing how we feel about our history. We're not trying to attack, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
we're trying to bring it out in the light, and they're trying to fight bringing it out in the light in order to
they feel like
keep
you're
it
pointing
suppressed.
the finger at them.
And it just makes us even more angry.
I'm just saying this is what we've been through.
But I
and
think
this is why we feel
also
that way.
like there's like where the balance comes in at is that like you have like the case of when the schools are integrated, and you had little Ruby. Like, you got pictures of her being escorted into school, being the first black kid. She was like maybe 8 or 9.
Think about how terrifying that was.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But
right,
also, it's like,
Maybe.
shouldn't, like, I think that's the question is, like, shouldn't kids that young, should kids that young learn about things that our kids have to deal with at that age? Because a lot of people will attest to it. Not all black people, but a lot of black people will say, hey, I experienced racism. I experienced all those things when I was 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
How come my counterparts shouldn't, like, how come they don't have to learn, they don't have to experience that? Should they have to learn that? And I get your point when you're saying, hey, sometimes their minds, like, you can twist a mind to think a certain way. Mm-hmm. And I think the thing about it is, like you said, the knowledge of something sometimes is not like, hey, I want to beat you with a sledgehammer because I want you to know, I want you to, like, understand where y'all messed up at. But I think it's the understanding that, hey, you can put a burden on a kid. Like, there's some things that our children, and some things our kids and our, like, that are black, brown, that are Indian, that are native, have experienced early.
Yeah, they don't even know they're being discriminated against.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
and should we show that in the schools? Because, like,
I think that so
You have to. If you're going to show something like the Holocaust and World War II, what happened to the Jews, what happened to homosexuals, what happened...
And that's very, very important that you say that. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever talks about that, but it's very, very important that you say that. Because we read literature about some chick that set up in an attic and died like that, and she just left her diary behind, and we had to study that for literature in U.S. history and in English class. There's a book. I mean, so we study that for literature, but it goes no further beyond that. Like, so let's be real. That's very, very important.
Yeah, because they don't call what blacks went through a Holocaust, but it was.
It was a Holocaust.
It was a Holocaust,
yeah.
And
slavery was like concentration camps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
you
it
would
was
live and die under the yoke of
and
evil men that pretended to be good men. You know, like, I wouldn't say.
And they still use the same Bible we use today,
right?
Like, and I think but I think it does. Is an honest. I think that's an honest question to the debate. Is like, at what age do we start? I would.
No matter what, they're the wrong people. Like in the South, where they're fighting this kind of thing, they're raising their children to hate black and melanated people anyway.
I think they should have a life preparation course, and I think in that they should teach kids stuff like budgeting.
Yeah, they start with sex ed for some reason.
No, and all that, but all that they should also teach the diversity of the world, and I think at a young age, and I think this is how I got it, from a young age, I was always taught my uniqueness as a black kid. Mm-hmm. So I was never taught that anybody else was bad. I was always taught just my uniqueness as a black kid. And I was always taught different things. It was important for my parents to empower us as young black kids. So learning about Jesse Owens, and my dad was big into the Negro Leagues, and so we learned about all those type of things, and the essence of Kwanzaa. I mean, we had all these black books, and we had all these things. So Afrocentric and being pro-black was the very first thing. So we understood that, and as we aged in that, and then situations came up, they let us understand the type of world that we lived in, and that's why these type of things would happen, But I don't think that we prepare kids enough for the world that they're walking into, we give them the X's and O's of the world.
Right.
This is how you count, so you know how to count money. This is how you read, so you know how to read a contract. And this is how you stay on a system, so you know how to keep a job.
Yeah.
That's what we teach people. But we don't teach them that when you go out into this world, it's crazy and people aren't fair. And it is the goalpost moves depending on what you look like and what skin color you have and what sex you are. And, all these things matter. And we don't take any of this into account going into the world. We graduate from high school, all 18, 17, 18 naive kids thinking that the whole world is in front of us and we're about to tackle life and, it's going to be great. And then you start to get beat up by society because it's like nobody prepared me for all this. I didn't even know how to apply for a car loan. Like
you get hit by moves.
Didn't even know how to apply for a car loan. Like
you get hit by financial systems that you weren't prepared for.
Yeah.
And you had no idea to counteract.
No.
Nobody. Yeah.
And so it's a lot of these things that we don't prepare people for, and I think the purpose of the school systems to do that is for that to become your distraction later on in your life, because if you think about it, more times than not, we're not really distracted on the differences in our races until we become teenagers and adults and live on into that, because that's when it becomes very, very open, because then it affects your livelihood. When you're a kid, it really doesn't affect your livelihood like that because you got people to stand in for you and protect you. When you become an adult, it affects your livelihood because it depends on how much money. I'm the same. A white person can have the same skills that I have and make more money than me.
True.
So the
I
Asian
don't know,
person,
because being a single mom at a point in time, was raising a son who's mixed, but he looks white. My son looks white. He's lighter than Chris. And I was always fearful because he came from a home where his dad wasn't there, so he had anger issues. So he would go rage. And I was scared because I'd be like, you're going to go to school and you're going to be flipping desks. And people aren't going to treat you how they treat your friend next to you because they
don't
know
understand
who
the
your
rage.
mom is.
Yeah.
And now you're a black kid to them. You know what I mean? And so that always scared me. That would always bring fear for me. So I had to teach him young, you are half black. So to them, you are black.
Yeah, but colorism is a thing too. If we see you,
and they treated him different. Let me tell you, it scared the mess out of me. My son's first girlfriend cheated on him with his best friend. My son went to that school and was like, I will kill anybody who steps in my way because I'm going to kill this dude and maybe even the girl. Do you know the police came and was like, calm down, son.
Yeah.
I think they thought I was a friend that was coming to help. They was like, your mom's upset with you. You should ride in the back car with us and maybe she'll have time to calm down. And they the police officer drove my son home and wanted me to calm down. I was like, sir,
Might as well
sir,
my
ma'am.
black self- my
you know
black
what I
self,
mean?
man.
It wouldn't have been that way if it was
Yeah.
one of y'all.
Yeah.
You know what I
It
mean?
wouldn't- yeah.
no, I already know because see, I was a bad kid, so
The
I got
school,
it.
this is how white my son looked. They pulled him to the office. I was picking him up from school because he tore the bathroom up. And they said, do you know who that person is? And he was like, that's my mom. And they were like, that's your mom? So he was like, and he got angry because he wants you to know he's black. Even though he don't look black. He's like, yeah, that's my mom. You know?
And they're like,
that it's
calm
so
down.
it's so
You okay?
different.
Yeah.
And it,
For me, I was in sixth grade. I punched a PE teacher on an accident because he grabbed me from behind. They took me in the office in
Immediate.
cuffs and everything. They talking about
That's
taking
what I
me
thought.
to jail.
I thought it was
I got
on him.
expelled from school and the whole thing. And I was
They
just
didn't even
like,
suspend
he
him.
walked up behind me. I got witnesses. Everybody told y'all what happened. I just, reacted. And it was just like all on the whole thing. Act like I was death threat towards the man. And so I do understand the differences in that. And it is what it is. Like I said, because I used to date a white chick and her son was mixed, but he looked like he was white. And they would always say that, but I was trying to help them understand like that's not how the world is.
Right.
We don't get your results till you're 23andMe. It's just what we see.
Yep.
exactly.
Mariah Carey was white to us
all the time.
She's
right.
white to me.
Yep.
I found out that she had black dad. I was like, what?
Who? You had to show me him because I didn't believe it.
Y'all
first.
tripping. But that's what I'm saying. Like the eyes tell one thing.
You are what you look
and
like to
You are
them.
what you look like to everybody. And I had to help somebody understand that. And like, oh, they just, one day her son was wearing a do-rag at the school, and the dude told her to take it off and was like, and I'm like, you gotta realize that, you live in a white neighborhood. He wearing a do-rag to a white school. Of course they think that's what that is. They're not saying it because they think he look black. Because if you look at him, he don't look black.
Yeah.
So that's not what they're saying it. They say what they're trying to do, because, see, in reality, they would have just said he was a gang member. What they're trying to do is say, little white boy, don't you be like the rest of them dudes. Take that do-rag off.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to do. They don't know that you're really
Don't
black.
let them impress you. And
Yeah, they don't
make
know
you
that you're
wanna
really
be there.
black.
Like, no, you
Or
already
they be
there.
like,
Yeah, and they don't know that you took the do-rag because your dad wear do-rags and you wanted to look like your dad. They don't know that. But they only see what they see, and when they
Trying to get
see
the
it, they
waves
feel
right.
like, I'm protecting this little white kid from being like the
That's
rest of these
exactly.
black boys.
They're trying
Yeah.
to protect you, and they're
You
trying
know?
to stop a cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they don't know. We only
They
see
don't
what
know
we
your
see.
household.
Yeah.
No, they don't. And so this was, I mean, some people would
Now
tell
you're
you.
being judged for what you got on your head just to protect your hair.
Yeah, I mean, he really
Isn't that
didn't
the
need to
weirdest
wear.
thing?
He really didn't need to wear a do rag because he had white boy hair. He didn't cut it like that, so he had the little white boy high top thing. You
He was
feel
probably
me?
trying to
He just
protect,
wanted to be like his daddy, and
He just-
I wasn't mad at that. You feel me? Like his dad wore the do rag. I'm like, I ain't mad at that. You feel me? You look up to your dad. And that's the little fashion thing he got going on. You like, oh, I want to be like my daddy. Okay, cool.
Right.
You feel me? I get it, but it is with my son want to play basketball because his dad played basketball. He ain't good at it. I told him, you know what I'm saying?
But I feel
it
like
is what
every
it is.
child should be treated how my son was
yeah,
treated.
right.
I really feel that way. I was angry. Like, they probably could have locked me up because I was so scared of what was going to happen to him, even though nothing was going to happen to him because he looked like them.
But that's your son, and you know what he is. So that's what I'm saying. You don't see him the rest of the world see him.
Yeah, how you
You
gonna
see him
protect
for
him from
who
me?
you see him for who he is because that's your baby. They only see him for what he presents. And that's the difference.
Which was just angry to
Yeah.
them. Whereas I saw he was hurt,
Yeah, very hurt. And
Yeah.
somebody else could probably get hurt
Exactly.
in that moment because he's going off of raw emotion.
And I didn't know, but they were just like, oh, calm down. We're going to give him a ride home. Oh, calm down.
Shit,
I
I'd
was
have got a ride
like-
to the station.
Yeah, you would have got a ride to the station. And
Your
you
parents would
would've-
come pick you up from the station.
Yep.
That actually happened to me before.
And
so
he cussed out the officer. I mean, I was just like, oh my God.
But
somebody
in
come get me.
those moments,
See,
in those moments,
see,
they
black
have,
black boy can't do that.
yeah,
No,
they
that's
have,
what I'm saying.
They
Like,
have
and that's
more
so
patience
frustrating.
for those for anybody else except for a black
That's so
child.
unfair.
There's more patience for anybody else. The black child, because they see what they think. Like what D.L. Hughley said, the most dangerous place for a black man or a black person is the
In
imagination
their own mind.
of a white person. Because they imagine, and this is not everybody, but in those situations, a lot of times those people imagine the worst happening.
So everything is governed by perception.
Yep.
Yes, and so
So
is
is this bill.
Yep.
It's all
everything.
governed by perception.
All governed by
Yeah,
perception.
Yeah. Like, I'm gonna feel discomfort because I'm gonna you at work, you working with grown adults, and you're gonna be like, because you think.
But and that's the thing, because you know what, I feel discomfort for the simple fact that my history is being erased, and the fact that my beginning in this country is not being acknowledged, and the struggle that I've had to go through to get to where we're at in this country has been disintegrated. So why shouldn't I feel some type of discomfort in that, when it pretty much this bill is saying white people shouldn't feel any sort of guilt for what their ancestors did and the position